Hey, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an electric guitar instructional for the song Move by Jesus Culture. We're going to look at both the lead parts and the rhythm parts. So we're going to do it in the key of C instead of the key of D flat like the original. So we'll go through the parts, and then after that we're going to go through the theory behind what's going on, and then we'll quickly cover the gear being used at the end. So stick around and I hope you enjoy. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Okay, so theory-wise, we have a few different things going on in this song, but nothing overly complex. So our rhythm, our lead parts in the verse and the intro are all based around this C major pentatonic shape that many of us would know, based around our 5th fret on the G string, our C right here. So we're really just dealing with that note, our 6, which is our A, 7th fret on the D string, and then our 7th fret on the G string, which is our 2, our D, and then 5th fret on the B string, which is our 3, or our E. So that's all that's happening there theory-wise. Same with the chorus. We're using a very common shape in worship music and even alt-rock and stuff, which is just this 1-5. Sorry if the tuning's a little bit out or the intonation, but... so all we're doing there is 1 5 1 1 5 1 1 2 3 2 3 2 1, and we're kind of letting the notes ring out as well as having effects to kind of bridge those gaps. But and those two positions can be moved around depending on what key you're in really easily. You just have to identify where your root is on the G string. So let's say you're doing it in A. We just find our A, 2nd fret of the G string. Same pentatonic shape. If we're doing it in F, okay, we find our F right here. And then even if you needed to do it on like a lower string, you just, the pattern will be, the shape will be slightly different, but you just, let's say we're doing it in F, but that's getting in the way of the vocals. So we'll jump it down here to our F, 3rd fret on the D string. But yeah, it's very easy to move around depending on what key you're in. And then in the bridge, we're using a very simple triad shape. So we're catching our C, 13th fret on the B string, and then we're surrounding our surrounding it with its triadic notes. So we're putting the E above it, 12th fret of the E string, and then our 5th, our G, below it, 12th fret of the G string. So that's the basis of the bridge. And then we're switching it to a, instead of a 3, a 2 or a 9. So instead of this E here, we're going to use this D. And that D is the 10th fret of the E string. So, and you just got to practice moving these 2 fingers. So your middle finger is on the E here, but it's going to have to jump up to take the place of the G. And your first finger is going to stretch a bit and hit the 10th fret of the E string. And likewise, you can move that around as long as you know where your root is on the B string. So if it's an A, here's our A. Same with F. We can either go way up here or down here. Literally anywhere. D flat, original key, G flat, so on and so forth. So that's theory-wise what's going on here. And then for the rhythm parts, it's really simple here. I'm just doing, it's just like this rhythmic pattern. I think Jeffrey might even be playing single notes and using like a pog to add an octave. I don't have one on my board, so I'm just using a real octave. So I'm catching the same C, 5th fret on the G string, and then adding the octave below it, 3rd fret on the A string. I'm muting the D string with the pad of my first finger, and then using my right and left hand to mute all the strings so I can get my right wrist moving kind of funky. So, and that's all it is. And then you switch it when it gets to the 5 chord. Into revival, lead us back to you. You go to the 2. And then I'm just adding more grit. For the outro, using the same rhythmic pattern, but just single notes of following the chords. So that's all that's going on for the rhythm as far as theory. As far as gear for this video, I'm not using anything wildly complex, I promise you. I've got a kid at home, so, you know, it's my setup here is pretty reasonable. Some of it is years and years before I had a kid of buying and selling and all that, but what I'm using is not complex. I mean, I'm recording into a Rode NT1, literally a great affordable mic, going into a Focusrite Scarlett 2, a very affordable, great quality interface. For amps, I'm using the Line 6 HX Stomp, which is a great little tool. I'm using David Hislop from Bethel. He has his Bethel Amps patch, so I'm using his stereo patch, which is his, I think, 90s era AC30 with a greenback speaker, and his Fender Pro Sonic in stereo. On the HX Stomp, it's the AC30 Fawn Bright patch and the mail order twin with his custom IRs for speakers, and then a few other little tweaks that he did that just make them sound incredible. I've barely even touched this patch. It just sounds great as it is, and it's really tailorable to whatever guitar you're using. Effects-wise, I'm running into a compressor, Cali 76 Compact Deluxe, just to even things out a little bit. I find it's very useful in worship music. I'm using one light overdrive for all of my like lower gain parts. That's just kind of always on. That's the Greer Lightspeed, just kind of running as a bit of grit, like a preamp. And then I'm switching to the Nobels ODR-1 for the slightly grittier parts. Still not a lot of gain, but just a little bit more. Yeah, and then my wet effects are coming from the Strymon Timeline for delay. I'm using the tape setting. Dotted eighth for most of the lead parts. It's more subtle in the verse stuff because I don't want to get in the way of the funkiness that's happening there, so I kind of keep it out of the way and in the back a little bit. But it's a little more prominent in the chorus and the bridge to help fill the gaps. And then I've got a plate on for most of it. A big plate delay, which is I think what Jeffrey uses, that just kind of adds a nice, big, rich depth to everything. And this is just an American Telecaster. For the bridge, for the rhythm parts, I'm using a quarter note delay, still the tape setting, but a little bit back so it doesn't get in the way, and the same reverb setting just dialed back a fair bit again to not get in the way because there's a lot of wet effects bouncing around already. So that's it for gear. Everything's going into Logic with very little processing, so yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for watching this instructional today. If you want, you can hit like, follow, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. And here's a quick shot of my pedal board for your liking.